Welcome to Pinky's Podcast, Week 9. It's election day, so that means my mom's home, so I can't dip and swear in front of her. Not, not ideal. And my housekeeper's home, so even when my mom left to vote, she had the fucking vacuum going. So, this is the On the Go podcast. Uh, Sitting in my car in the parking lot, hoping nobody comes up and wonders what fucking maniac is recording here. Not an ideal situation. Let's get into the scores. Probably going to be pretty quick podcast because I don't feel like looking like an absolute sociopath in here. Um, First we had Eddie beating Davis. It was 122 to 100 and a half. Almost said 105. Eddie had pretty good weeks out of all of his running backs, wide receivers. Huge week out of Mike Evans. That was the difference with 32.5 points. Another not great week for Andrew Luck. He only had 12 points. For Davis, I'm actually surprised with the numbers that Aaron Rodgers put up. I didn't think he had that good of a game. But 25 points for Rodgers, pretty good. Big game out of Dwayne Harris or whatever the fuck his name is. 19.5 points. And Antonio Gates had a good week with 15.5. The rest of his team kind of stunk. Marvin Jones had half a point. He has both of the Broncos receivers, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Neither of them did very well, and Matt Asiata was not good with 4 points. So Eddie is now 6-3. Davis is 4-5. I finally have a better record than Davis. That's exciting. Next we have Ben beating Dwyer because everybody beats Dwyer 99 to 77. Not a great week for Ben, but he had Latavius Murray fucking go nuts on Sunday night. It was actually looking like a close matchup until he put up fucking 30 points. Everybody else on Ben's team, not that great, besides Tyrell Williams had 15, and Cameron Brate did well by Cameron Brate standards with 12.5 points. For Dwyer, everybody sucked besides Matt Ryan and Antonio Brown. That's the Dwyer team story every week. I feel like I don't need to say that over and over again. So Ben's now 5-4. Dwyer is 1-8. Next, we had the Battle of the Bleekas with Espo versus Barnsey. Barnsey won 112 to 97.5. Doesn't look like there's anything very significant in this. Everybody for Espo did average to below average, besides Jason Witten. He had 23 points. That was good. For Barnsey, Tyrod Taylor had a big game, which he needed. This matchup actually kind of came down to the wire. From the projections, it looked like Espo was going to win, but Tyrod Taylor had a good game against the Seattle defense. Seattle defense had a bad game, so that's what brought Espo down, what launched Barnsey to the win. He had a good game out of Julio Jones with 21 points, and a good game out of Jay Ajayi again with 19.5 points. I thought Barnsey was going to be fucked because he left Mark Ingram and Tim Hightower on the bench for him. Both of them had big games. Even though they were splitting carries, they were going up against San Francisco. Everybody does well against San Francisco. So Mark Ingram had 29 points. Hightower had 15.5. Both on Barnsey's bench, but didn't matter. Barnsey comes out with the W. Both of them are 5-4 now. And then we had the Battle of the Kyles with Fayola versus Cabral. Fayola won 115 to 111. Mariota keeps playing well for Fayola. Ezekiel Elliott, same thing, 25 and 21.5 respectively. Nothing else too significant there. Eric Ebron had a good game by Eric Ebron standards, I guess, 12.5 points. And Cole Beasley, too, with 14. I don't know how Fayola keeps winning with Beasley, Kenny Britt and Eric Ebron in his fucking starting lineup. Cabral actually almost made a comeback. Nice feature of that's an ambulance there. Cabral almost made a good comeback with Jimmy Graham had 26 points last night, but it wasn't enough. Fayola had LaShawn McCoy and Christine Michael going. So, tough loss for Kyle. 111 for Kyle Cabral. 111 points will win it for you most weeks, but not this week. So Fayola's now 6-3 and Cabral is 4-5. And then I beat Brian once again. Put a whooping on him. I had the highest score in the league this week. Kind of exciting. Making a huge comeback. I beat him 135.5 to 81. Drew Brees, San Francisco defense, fucking trash, 24 points. Melvin Gordon is my Lord and Savior, fucking 33 points. Odell Beckham would have had a trash game, but he got 2 touchdowns, so that was nice. He had 18. And, I mean, I had Frank Gore with 20 points and Michael Thomas with 21.5 on my bench. There were more points that could have been scored there. For Brian, Russell Wilson had a good game. Not good enough, though, because he needed 80 points last night. So, 26, not going to cut it. Other than that, Golden Tate had a pretty good game no, not a good game. He had a good end of the fourth quarter and overtime for Brian. So that was kind of scaring me at the 1 o'clock kickoff. But turned out not to be an issue. Won by 54 points. Put a whooping on my season sweep, baby. Feels fucking good. I am now in first place in the East Division. Same record as Espo and Barnsey, but whooping their ass in points for by about 100 points each. Then in that division, Mayette's 4-5 in fourth place, and Dwyer is never getting out of the cellar at 1-8. Then we have in the West the 2 best records in the league. Eddie's leading at 6-3. He's got Kyle Fayola, who's in second place, tied for first at 6-3. But Eddie has a tiebreaker, points for by about 100 points. Then it's Ben all alone in third place at 5-4, and Kyle Cabral and Josh Davis tied at 4-5 each. In last place in that division, but definitely not out of it. A few wins, they're in the playoffs, either or. I mean, 4-5, it's going to be kind of tough sledding, but especially since I'm the one who faces Dwyer next week. So neither of them have guaranteed wins. So like I said, I got Dwyer. I'm going to be 6-4. That's going to be exciting. That pretty much just means one more win and I'm in the playoffs. Then we have Davis versus Barnsey. Kyle Cabral versus Eddie. So that's tough for Kyle because Eddie's been on a fucking roll this year. Although it looks like Eddie might have a few impact players on bye week, so maybe Kyle catches a break. Then we have Mayette versus Espo, and Kyle Fayola against Ben. So, should be a pretty interesting week. Thank you for joining me for my On the Road podcast. This was fucking terrible. I don't like how close this camera is, but there's nothing else I can do with my laptop. So I hope you enjoyed the zoomed in feature. See you next week. Hopefully back in my fucking room with my regular computer and a regular ass podcast. Because this was obnoxious. See you next week, fuckers.